Good afternoon, everyone, or morning, I guess, if you're in Alaska. Thanks for joining us. We'll be getting started here shortly. As always, it's great to see so many familiar faces. Ray, I hope you're doing well in Arizona. Great to see you. Henry Rowland in Connecticut, great to see you. Claudia in New Mexico, great to see you. Grady in Kentucky, great to see you, sir. This is the danger of starting to call out names. I'm not going to get through the entire list, but we're grateful for every person who's here, and we will get started very shortly.
Hey everybody.
Hello, Alberto.
Um, it is good to see so many folks right on time, and it's a big crowd already. Well, how about we kick it off? Excuse me, I'm still recovering from a pretty bad cold this weekend, and it's kind of taken Jameson out on our team too. So there's something out there, but I have a little bit of a cough, so let me just apologize for that preemptively. But we will kick it off. We kind of have a fun, different all hands meeting today. Usually we hit the state updates at the end. We're going to kick it off with state updates today. There's a lot of really cool stuff that's happening all across the country. Want to make sure we hit those things. And then, we spent a long time thinking about this month's All Hands. You guys probably know that it's Civic Education Week this week, and of course, it's the year of our country's 250th anniversary too. And so, we've been running this Oath of Office challenge now. Reagan has been leading this really cool Oath of Office challenge for us at Veterans for All Voters. And I was kind of thinking about, I've heard this from a few people as they've been reflecting on their oath of office, but the first time I took the oath, I wasn't by myself, like in front of a camera. I was with a bunch of people. It was like a bunch of plebes at the Naval Academy. And you were taking it with like people from all across the country who you didn't know yet. They're about to become your best friends, but we thought that we would try, and maybe it'll be hokey, try and experiment for us to do this oath of office exercise here as a group after we've gone through state updates and some other updates on our work at VAV. And then we'll go into breakout rooms and kind of reflect on what it meant to you when you first took that oath of office, any reflections you have on that, and what it means to you to hear the oath of office again today. And then, would welcome you as you're continuing to reflect on this as, we continue watching what's happening in the news, thinking about our brothers and sisters in arms who are in harm's way today. As we continue thinking about it, if you feel so compelled to, uh, you know, put your put out a video and think about the oath of office and what it means to you, we would welcome that. And so we'll talk about this a little bit more here in a second. I'm going to pop the Oath Challenge website into the chat. Jameson kind of built out some cool history about the oath of office. It's really unique place in American history, going all the way back to George Washington taking an oath not to a king, not to a person, not to a political party, but to our country and eventually to the Constitution of the United States. And then one more thing, and then I'm going to kick it over to Eric to lead the conversation about state updates and other stuff that's happening around the country. But our very good friends and partners at Open Primaries have a cool initiative happening right now called the Declaration of Independence. Not like the Declaration of Independence that we know, but as in the independent movement. And it's a really neat, I'm honestly a little bit jealous that they thought of it before we did. A really neat initiative that they're also running through the 250th. Would welcome all of you guys looking it up and considering signing on. It's just a really clever but impactful idea, highlighting independent voters who are not able to participate fully in our elections. So anyways, we're going to come back to all of this in a minute. We'll come back to the oath of office initiative. But I'm going to turn it over to Eric to run through some of the really important work that's happening all around the country, and it's good to see everyone.
Yeah, thanks so much, Alberto, and a lot of great stuff going on. Before we get into the state updates, as usual, our agenda is chock full. So I will call on a few folks to talk about your states as we highlight them. But first, I wanted to pick up where we left off last month, which was we talked a lot about VAV's new resolution in support of military voting, in support of reasonable grace periods that we're working to get introduced in at least 15 VFW posts around the country. So this will be a real informal poll here for those of you on camera or off camera. Who is a member of the VFW? Who here in Veterans for All Voters, if you raise your hand physically or okay. I don't know if I'm smart enough to be able to count quickly, but it looks like a fairly small percentage. So for those of you who are, and Jameson, if you don't mind dropping this in the chat, our last newsletter focused on the VFW resolution. We have a draft ready to go, and I've already talked to my local post here in Missouri. I plan on introducing it next month in April. Dave Oaklander up in Montana will be doing the same, and others. So we have a draft of that, and we have a form if you're willing to do this, if you don't mind just filling out that form so we know who to expect. And then the goal is to get these up to the state level and get them passed at the state level and get it to the national convention with two goals in mind. One is you get to have 100 conversations along the way about why military voting and absentee and mail-in voting go hand in hand. It's a nonpartisan issue. Literally, it was invented for the military. And then two is hopefully we get this resolution passed at the national level, which would require the VFW to advocate and lobby in support of any legislation that, in support of legislation to protect military voting, to protect reasonable grace periods. So that's a big push. The second thing I wanted to highlight is that it's primary season, as everyone here was waiting on pins and needles for the primary election season to start. It did last week, Tuesday, right? In three states, North Carolina, Texas, and Arkansas held their primaries. And for us at Veterans for All Voters, primary season is an incredible opportunity for us to educate our fellow citizens about, look, these are the elections that, generally speaking, no one is paying attention to, and they literally decide 90% of the winners and losers. There's no real competition in 90% of our general elections in November. So we're going to be our next newsletter and coming up in an email that you'll all get is going to be a push to use the primaries as an educational tool. Maybe you live in a state where it's a closed primary. Would you be willing to write a letter to your editor or an op-ed talking about how you, as an independent veteran, have no meaningful vote? Would you be willing to record a quick 1 to 2 minute video about the primary problem in American politics? So we'll have a bunch of ideas for activations, but just wanted to let you know that's coming down the pike with some really big states and primaries coming up in early May is really when the rest of the primary. There's a few in March. I don't mean to leave out folks in Illinois and a couple other states, but then the large majority are in May, June, or even later. So that'll be coming down the pike. All right, and then now on to state updates. Quick time check here. Okay, so within the past month or since the last call, I guess it was less than a month, we had a group of 10 veterans up in New York State attend a lobby day with our state partner, Unite New York, that was led by an incredible veteran, Kristen Rouse from New York City. She brought 10 veterans and they did lobbying in support of different structural reform bills in New York. We have folks working to bird dog bad bills in states such as South Carolina, where our leader Chris Himsel testified earlier this year. And in Tennessee, there's a bill to close primary elections in Tennessee that Shannon Rasmussen is keeping a close eye on, and she has testimony ready to go if they actually call the bill up in a hearing tomorrow. Other states with positive bills, we have in Delaware, potentially, oh, I'm sorry, no, Delaware is in the negative column, would be no, Delaware is a positive, opening up primary elections. And then Hawaii also has a bill to potentially open primary elections. That's a new, so Delaware and Hawaii are positive bills for open primaries. And then Kentucky, I saw my friend Dan Collins on the call. Dan, if you want to take a minute to talk about Kentucky and what we have going on there with the upcoming lobby day. And if
Hey,
and if you're not ready, I can keep talking.
all set. Yeah. Hey, everybody.
Okay.
So we have Adam Moore, Representative Adam Moore, that had filed for House Bill 799. It's been formally introduced. It just got today assigned to a committee. And so our next step is to activate those representatives on the committee. And the committee is, let me just take a look quick. The Elections, Constitutional Amendments, and Intergovernmental Affairs Committee. So now we've targeted that committee. I'm going to be sending out communications to the Kentucky team soon to say, hey, if you're in this area and you're relevant to that folks, then let's see if we can get them a call and advocate on behalf of this bill. But that'll be March 18th, and our call for Kentucky will be later. So it's in the middle of our lobby day planning. So any advice, we're happy to have it. So thanks.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Dan. So Lobby Day coming up in Kentucky. We've spoken a lot about the great work the team in Maryland is doing. They have a Lobby Day coming up as well. Both of those are on our upcoming events. There's a Lobby Day in Maryland with our friends and partners from Rank the Vote Maryland, and then Dan and the team in Kentucky have the Lobby Day coming up. So, and then a brand new development is Alabama, where, it's about once a week, someone reaches out and says, are you tracking this new bill in some state to close primary elections? Last week it was Alabama. So we reached out to our superstar Alabama leader, Andrew Newby, who's on the call here. And Andrew recorded an incredible video. And Reagan, give me a thumbs up if are we ready to share that in a minute or two?
In a minute, yeah.
Okay, in a minute. And Andrew, I don't know if you want to tell us, just take a minute or two to tell us about yourself, about the bill in Alabama, and then why you're going to be testifying tomorrow against this new bill to close primary elections.
Sure. Thanks, Eric. Yeah, so Alabama's trying to pass the Safeguard Alabama Voter Engagement Act, which is going to require everybody to register with a private organization called a political party. It's a terrible idea because it's a supermajority state. It is incredibly red or incredibly blue, depending on where you live. But far and away, the state is a Republican state, and they're looking to disenfranchise voters who pay taxes to make sure that voting can even happen. So tomorrow, I've got a 10-minute speech that I'm going to give as testimony about why this is a terrible idea, how it's taxation without representation. I just highlight a lot of the great work that Eric and his team have put together, the research that Unite America has done, the research that VAV has done, just to highlight that this is a bad idea. I know you've mentioned Kentucky coming up. One of the things that I looked to highlight in my state is the number of primaries that actually get canceled because there's no opposition. And I'm really trying to highlight the lack of any kind of competition at all. So I'm going to testify to 11 members on the Ethics and Campaign Finance Committee tomorrow, and 7 of those have their upcoming May primary canceled because there's nobody else. So if I lived there, I wouldn't be able to vote because I'm not Republican and I'm not Democrat. So Kentucky, if you're listening, maybe you look at which primaries are getting canceled and you highlight that, Daniel. I'm calling them out too. I say there are 72 primaries that have been canceled for this upcoming May House primary, and 7 of you on this committee had your primaries canceled because there's no opposition. That's probably going to piss some people off, but they had a closed caucus meeting for the Republican Party in Hoover, Alabama last month, and the Speaker of the House, Nathaniel Ledbetter, went on the record saying that he doesn't, quote, give a shit about the Republican Party. So what I'm hoping happens is that something like that comes up so that I can say that I too don't care about the Republican Party, and I'm right there with you. So yeah, it's wild down here in Alabama, but I look forward to working with all of you. And thanks for the time, Eric and Alberto. You guys are great.
Yeah, no, thank you so much, Andrew. And Reagan, just let me know or give me the thumbs up if
Yeah,
that's ready. And if
it
not, I can
is.
keep talking.
It is. And hopefully I did this correctly and you were able to hear my audio. Let me know.
Did you know that political parties are not in the Constitution of the United States at all? Like, at all. My name's Andrew. I'm a Marine Corps veteran, and I'm the leader of Veterans for All voters here in the state of Alabama. George Washington, in his farewell address, actually warned against factions. And today, the state of Alabama's legislature is looking to close its primaries so that if you don't register as a Republican or register as a Democrat, you can't vote. And I think it's pretty important that people learn what's going on in this state because taxes pay for everything to do with elections. Election workers are taxpayer funded. The ballots are bought with taxpayer dollars. The machines that count the ballots are bought with taxpayer dollars. And you pay those taxes, and this state legislature wants to pass a law that says that you cannot vote unless you pledge fealty to a party. As an independent voter, I would be completely disenfranchised. I have no say in anything that goes on in my state's primaries. That doesn't make sense to me. You know, if you've ever had to write your blood type on your clothes to go to work in the morning, I don't think that you should have to register for a political party to be able to vote.
Bam. So just an outstanding example of a really authentic, genuine appeal, and would encourage, I know not all of us are comfortable recording videos. I'm in that boat. But your story, each of you has a powerful story to share. And if you're willing to experiment with sharing your personal story, please send that our way to Reagan. You can email it to us, you can text it to me, whatever's easiest, and we'll support you all. But that was outstanding, Andrew. Um, so another state I need to mention. In the past, you've heard us talk about state ballot measure for open primary election. Oklahoma late last week, the Oklahoma Secretary of State rejected over 60,000 signatures. So there was over 200,000 signatures were turned in. You need about 172, 173,000 to get on the ballot. And the Secretary of State rejected 60,000. So as of now, that has failed to qualify for the ballot. There will likely be legal challenges, but it's not looking great in Oklahoma. This is the hard reality of, citizens' initiatives are incredibly difficult to pass, even under the best of circumstances where there's no opposition. It still takes a lot to qualify for the ballot. And in Oklahoma, you have the party that's in charge of the state fiercely opposed to this state question 836, and that's a real big uphill push. But the team there, did everything they could, and they're going to keep fighting in court. But that's just an update from Oklahoma. So we have maybe about 5 minutes left. If I missed your state, or if there's something, a big update from your state you'd like to share, I see Claudia, you raised your hand in New Mexico. Go ahead, Claudia.
All right, great to see everybody. Yeah, we had a good session. It was only 30 days in New Mexico, but we got a resolution passed that is going to pay our legislators. I mean, nobody even knows that there was actually a legislature out there that was all volunteer, but New Mexico was the last. So it's going on to the ballot in November. And the big news about that, passing it, is it's taken almost 20 years to get this through. But the legislators are going to be paid the median income in New Mexico, which is about $64,000. Two reasons that's important is it opens the door for non-rich people to run for office. It makes it a professional job. And the other thing, I think it's going to really increase the competition and the accountability. So we're really excited about that. I'm working with open elections here in New Mexico, and we're going to get the word out to everybody to vote to support this in November when it's on the election. And the other thing, just the opposite of what Andrew's dealing with, we'd always been closed primaries. They finally opened up. So we're also doing a big inform and educate campaign to let people know before our June primary that independents can now vote without registering with either of the party. So thanks.
Awesome. Thank you, Claudia. That amazing work. In addition to working on the ground in New Mexico, Claudia is also one of our board members, board leaders. We're so fortunate, Claudia, to have your servant leadership. Thank you. Ray Kimball in Arizona. Go ahead, brother.
Thanks, Eric. Voter Choice Arizona that I've been working with because of the challenges with statewide ballot initiatives. We had one fail in 2024. They have shifted their focus to getting adoption of Final Five voting at the city level. Arizona runs what are called charter cities, which are basically major cities that use a more or less standardized form of government derived from the Arizona Constitution. And so the thinking is that if we can get Final Five voting adopted at the city level, that will potentially build some groundswell for that. So I've been working with them on just putting together assessments of what it would actually take in a given city to do it, what the process is, what the threshold is. We're hopefully we'll see some movement in that area in the next couple of months. Thanks, Eric.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Ray. And then Brian Schroeder in Alaska, which is once again fighting to defend the innovative Alaskan election model. What do you have, brother?
Yeah, Eric, I just wanted to let everybody know we're really starting to gear up the kickoff to defend our system. We have there's a campaign kickoff tomorrow evening in Alaska. The group's now being called Protect Alaska's Elections, and they have a campaign manager, Julia Anastos. I haven't had the opportunity to meet her yet, but I know some people who know her and says she's great. And then in about a week from Thursday, we're going to have an evening. They're calling it the Reform Strategy, Alaska's Election Reform Strategy Summit. So kind of all the significant players, I think, are getting together to talk about the way ahead. And they've invited us to attend that. So I'll be there in about a week.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you very much, Brian. And Alaska is such an important state because they have an election model that is far superior to really 49 other states, in my humble opinion. So it's important to defend it and protect it. All right, Alberto, it looks like we're probably winding down on the state updates. I
Yeah.
saw Henry Rowland dropped in the chat about a RCV bill in Connecticut. If there's any other things you want to drop in the chat for our awareness, please feel free to do that.
Yeah, and Dustin put in a really good update on Massachusetts too. Appreciate his leadership there in Mass. And Brian, and Mark, I'll get to you here in a sec. But Brian, just for your heads up, there in Alaska, we'll be launching some LinkedIn ads, trying to drive in recruitment of new veterans. So excited about that and grateful to Reagan and Jameson for helping build it out. I think it's kind of a cool, different take on the election reform movement. We're basically saying, Alaskans have voted on this twice. Like, why are we voting on this again? Like, why not listen to the will of the voters? So excited about that. And I think the graphics are pretty cool. And hopefully we'll have a video soon. Over to you, Mark. Sorry, you're on mute.
Yeah. On March 18th, after the lobby day, that evening, our partners at openprimaries.org are going to kick off the Let Us Vote Kentucky. They're going to have a Zoom call at 7 p.m. So any Kentucky folks on this call that want to be part of that, just Google Let Us Vote Kentucky, and you can sign up for that call. And I just want to shout out to New Mexico, Alabama, and Alaska, which has ranked choice voting. Ranked choice voting was made illegal in Kentucky. We don't even have ranked choice voting, but that is the kind of fear. It is fear that we have to deal with. The parties are failing. They are the children, young people are not signing up for them. And they're in panic mode, and that's what this is about, I think. All right. Anyway, thank you.
Yeah, great word. And Let Us Vote .org is another partner organization. They will be organizing educational pickets in closed primary states. So if you live in a closed primary state, please sign up for letusvote.org, and you'll get invitation to your state's educational picket on closed primary day in your state. All right, Alberto, over to you.
Yeah, and we're going to have more to say about upcoming primary days too. So excited about that. And of course, my dog just started barking over here. So apologies there. I'll talk about logistics here in a second. But first off, we're going to do this oath of office, retaking the oath of office. And the way it's going to work, I'm going to ask everyone to stay on mute. I will read the oath of office out loud. I'll project it here on the screen. But if you're on camera, feel free to raise your right hand, say the words as I'm saying them out loud. And then we'll all kind of come back. I put in a prompt for you to reflect in the chat one word, one image, one memory that comes to mind as you hear the oath out loud. I'll give a few instructions about breakout rooms, and then we'll go out into breakout rooms after this piece. But here we go. If you're on camera and you're willing to raise your right hand, please do. I, Alberto Ramos, do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, that I take this obligation freely, without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties of the office on which I'm about to enter. So help me God. Thank you all. So go ahead and put in the chat that one word, image, whatever comes to mind here. I'm going to share my screen, which I should have done before. You'll see a few questions there, and I'll make sure to put them in the chat too. What we're going to do is we're going to break out into rooms. I tried to make them all less than 10 people per room. In most of those rooms, you should have a VAV person in the room who's going to be facilitating. I wasn't able to do that in all the rooms just because there's such great turnout to this, which is wonderful. It's a good problem to have. So if there's not, please elect someone to kind of be the spokesperson in your breakout room. We'll all have 15 minutes in the breakout rooms to kind of go through a series of questions, which I'm popping in now. Here we go. So the primary two questions that we want everyone to reflect on in the smaller groups is just what did it mean to you the first time you took it? Where were you? Were you, at boot camp? Were you at a recruiter's office? Like tell a little bit of the story of where you were and what it meant to you back then when you first took the oath of office. And then what does it mean to you to hear those words again today? And then if you guys have more time, I provided some more prompts there that you might consider running through, but let's focus on those first two. Before we pop off, does anyone have any questions? Feel free to raise your hand if you have any questions. Cool. Okay, I will open up the breakout rooms.
Yeah, my name's Andrew. I am now in Alabama again. Joined the Marines in 2006, got out in 2000, I don't know, 12, 13, something like that. Used GI Bill to go to school, and then never left school. So I work in the higher ed space.
Awesome. Awesome. Anyone else want to go?
Just a quick intro, you mean?
Yeah, just a quick intro.
Sure. I'm Nikia DeVita. I'm in Las Vegas, Nevada, Air Force veteran. I got out in 90, so it's been a long time. I still do a lot of work in the veteran community. I'm always looking to volunteer and serve in whatever capacity I can.
Well, it's great to have you here.
Thanks.
Okay, guess I'll go. Adam Despang, from Florida. Served in the Army for about 4.5 years, field artillery. And then when I got out, I switched to working on climate change policy. And have been an active volunteer with Team Rubicon in disaster response since getting out in 2017. Moved to DC briefly, so recent federal worker and now former federal worker. Uh, and now looking to get back involved in policy and politics. I'm actually going back to Florida to work on a campaign.
What part of
Amazing.
Florida? What part of Florida are you in, Adam?
Do you know Gainesville?
Yeah, right on.
I'm interested in what prompted that career change.
I was getting out right when Donald Trump was getting elected,
Mm,
and there was the two big things he was actively saying he was going to screw up was international politics and international relations and environment. So I was like, let me look more into this, and then every issue I cared about would be affected by climate change.
yeah.
I'd always been outdoorsy. I didn't know much about the science of climate change until I started looking into it, and I was like, okay, this is a big issue.
I can imagine that'd be fascinating and depressing at the same time.
Sure can.
Yeah. Ben, do you want to chime in? It's okay if not. We can move on to the reflection prompts. Um, so just like where were you and like what year was it? Where were you in your life when you guys first took the oath? For me, I was 17 and I was at the MEPS in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I was just still such a child. I had no idea the weight of the words that I was saying. It was just another step in the process for me. It's a very hazy memory, honestly. I hated being at MEPS. My brain seemed to just shut off as soon as I entered that building. So, how about you, Nakia?
I was getting sworn in. Um, I went to the Air Force Academy, and my graduation ceremony was essential. Part of that ceremony was the swearing in ceremony. So I very distinctly remember where I was at the Air Force Academy getting sworn in that graduation week, and um, I I think I don't even appreciate. Uh, I didn't appreciate. I think back then what I appreciate now. And I take that oath more seriously today than I do or did when I raised my right hand, back in 1986. So, 40 years ago, it's my reunion at the Air Force Academy this year. And I can definitely say that I feel I feel a stronger commitment to that oath today than I ever have. And some of the work that I'm doing today is in support of that in my own way.
I relate to both of you. I was 17 as well. Went to West Point, so it was in a random classroom as we were going through everything on day zero, just worrying about doing the next right thing, the next thing, the next thing. So it was just kind of a check the box for the day. It wasn't until graduation where it felt more real. And then same, Nikia. It's like now it feels more like a sense of responsibility.
Mm.
Yeah, I was at MEPS in Montgomery, Alabama, which I'm going to bring up in my testimony tomorrow because it's in Montgomery. And I had no idea what I was doing. I mean, the world that I was born in no longer existed, and I didn't know it. I was with a bunch of kids that were popping zits in high school 6 months prior. Um, now on the other side of things, I kind of look at it as the ultimate bait and switch, because you've got kids that are 17 that can't legally watch a film that's going to depict the violence that we're going to ask them to do. We're going to issue them a new identity. We're going to send them to a place that they can't find on a map to fight people they've never met for reasons that they're not meant to understand. And then when it's time to get out, we'll just say, thanks for your service. So I think, at almost 40 years old now, yeah, I think it's just very sobering to look back and think that like I was young and it's what I wanted to do. And man, oh man, was it not what anybody expected, right?
What did you do in the Marine Corps, Andrew?
Wild. I started out as a guitar player in the band in
No
29.
way.
Yep, I enlisted in the band. And then I met a guy who had super long hair, and he was a staff sergeant. And I was like, "This is cool. What's your name?" Like, or like, "What do you do?" And he's like, "Hey, I'm Johnny." And I was like, "What do you mean, Johnny?" So yeah, I'm with EOD. So I moved over to EOD in 2010, and yeah, it's a good time. Those guys are great.
Wow. Besides Comstrat, I think, or like combat camera, I think EOD is the coolest MOS in the Marine Corps.
Yeah, it's
What
a
is EOD? I don't know what it is.
Explosive
ex-
Ordnance Disposal,
Ah, ooh,
yeah,
cool.
right?
yeah. Those guys are so like laid back. I mean, it's your problem or it's
Truly.
not, right?
Exactly.
It's either this is your problem right now or it's no longer your problem.
Yeah. I did a lot of work with EOD in Okinawa, Japan when I was stationed.
Yeah.
They went to Thailand to dispose of all the landmines that were still left over.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
I had a counterpart do like a documentary style video on some of like the locals that had gotten their legs blown off from these landmines. Um, Extremely powerful. It's really, really cool that the Marine Corps just does humanitarian missions like that.
Yeah. I had a buddy of mine that was in Laos and got blown up and got out because of it. He was an EOD guy with third EOD company in Okinawa. And his name's David. And yeah, he's alive, but he got blown up from old landmines that they put in place and just forgot about. So yeah, it's wild. But yeah, if I could do it over again, I would have done like public affairs, combat camera, something like that, just because it's
It
like,
was really fun.
right? Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, you get to kind of, get a taste of every different job in the Marine Corps without actually having to do the dirty work,
Do it.
so to speak. Yeah, do
Got a
it. You
skill,
film it, you take pictures, you talk to people. It's
but you
really
got a
cool.
skill when you get out, right? Like you actually have something you
Exactly.
can use. Yeah,
Communication, social media, like all of that is 100% transferable.
yeah,
So, yeah, I got
absolutely.
lucky there.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Around the room, name, state, branch. So I was in the Army.
I'm retired Army.
Retired Army. Same. Okay. Mark Foster.
Army Reserve.
Okay.
Army, then switched to Navy and retired.
Got it. Kevin.
I was in the state Virginia / DC, and I was in the Marine Corps, active duty.
East Coast or West Coast?
I was a West Coast Marine.
All right, we can be friends still then.
Okay.
Also, myself, a West Coast Marine, in the reserves. And then my first job out of college was deployment papers, so it worked out well. Graduated from college and immediately went to Fallujah, Iraq, where I ran into a Navy lawyer in the chow hall, who I later learned was Ron DeSantis.
Oh boy. Sweet. Carrie and Eldred? Go ahead.
Yeah, retired Army.
Okay.
I'm LJ Posse. I'm in Central Pennsylvania and Marine, but I'm outnumbered because I'm the East Coast Marine. I'm the real Marine. Hollywood Marines, welcome now.
So I did 23 years in the Army, but I did 2 years at Quantico going to school. And I learned that I can be friends with the West Coast Marines. The East Coast Marines were a little bit too wound tight for me. Okay. So let's see, a couple of prompts. What did the oath mean to you when you first took it? Anyone? Mark, go ahead.
So when I took it, it was at the AFI station in '74. Vietnam hadn't wound down yet. And so I guess as I was taking it, my thought was, shit, what did I get myself into?
Yeah. Mark Ritter, you were going to dive in.
Well, I took it at the MEP station in Louisville.
Okay.
In 1981. I just was thinking, gee, I hope this works out. And 34 years later, Well,
Yeah.
Every month, it's great.
Kevin, what about you, man?
So I took mine December, I believe, 2015 at MEPS in Boise, Idaho, where I enlisted out of. And, 2001 when I was 6. So the feeling that I remember was just this pride, sense of pride, right? Like finally, it felt like I was an American, and yeah, still feel that way. Over.
Carrie?
I took my first oath of office in 1997 at a MEPS in Oklahoma City. And I kind of had similar ideas as Mark, like, what did I just get myself into? But also just considering that I was serving a much bigger cause, and that is, serving my country. I never realized, I didn't really think about the words as much, especially supporting and defending the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, until especially like 9/11 and then deploying. And then in 2007, when I became an officer, it's even more important to ensure that you are doing the right thing and leading the right way for your soldiers. So,
LJ? Or Josh? Go for it.
Yeah, I'll chime in.
Yeah.
I had been in the Marine Corps junior ROTC in high school in Kansas. And then when I started college, left home, I was going to Brigham Young University in Provo, Utah. And I thought, well, I want to be in the reserves. So I didn't really tell my parents a lot about delayed entry program, and I didn't necessarily understand that when you entered the delayed entry program, you take the oath of enlistment. So it was just a normal day. I was a college student. My recruiter picked me up, took me to the MEP station in Orem, Utah, and did a bunch of paperwork, did the oath of enlistment. It was at that moment they take you in a little room. Sometimes they dress it up. It was nice with some flags and stuff. And it was in that moment I was just like, wow, like this is a big deal. I'm taking on some real responsibility, even though I wouldn't go to boot camp for a couple more months once the college semester ended. And then oddly, years later, I looked more detailed at my entry paperwork. And the very day that I took the oath of enlistment happened to be September 11th, 2000. And I thought I was joining a peacetime Marine Corps Reserve, money for college, training, fun in the field with your friends. And then by the time I went to MOS school, September 11th had occurred right when I was in the infantry school in Pendleton. So it kind of changed the trajectory of service.
For sure. Yeah, my quick story, maybe not so much about where I first took it, but when I was a battalion commander in the 82nd Airborne Division, we had 10 months to prep for another deployment. And I had a bunch of young officers and non-commissioned officers, and every time I would promote someone, we would reiterate that oath. And man, just the sacrifice. And 9 of my kids didn't come home with me. And just knowing their sacrifice, knowing the responsibility that every leader took when they swore to that oath was the thing that sticks with me the most. The next question is, what does the oath mean to you today? How has that changed? On my screen, I see Mark Ritter. So let's go there first, and then we'll go around the horn to everybody else.
Well, I still feel like I'm serving. This morning, I do a project with Civic Lex, and it's where we go to the high schools and all these community organizations, both nonprofit and government related, are there tabling. And mine is about openprimaries.org and voting. And I have posters of the voting turnout in the primary in Kentucky from the 2024 primary. and it ranges from 6.9% to like 23%. It is so sad. And that, and I just think of what we all went through. Although I loved my time, I even enjoyed Iraq. But it's just I think we're in trouble. I think we need to come together on this. We're not living up to what we're founded on.
Yeah. Kevin, what about you? What does the oath mean to you today?
Yeah, to echo what Mark said, I think it's just continued service. It's like once you do it, you're still on call, regardless of what industry you're in. So continued service, and that also means being kind to others, regardless of the walk of life they come from. Right. That's what it means to me today. Over.
Awesome. Carrie?
It definitely means, it means just as much of a service mindset. What can I do to serve my community to ensure that people in my community felt heard and seen, and they are getting the representation from the legislature that they deserve. And then also, well, protecting and defending our democracy, really, and the Constitution of the United States. And so, what and how can I do that? And what ways can I do that are effective and that bring people together instead of dividing people, which is such an issue right now in the United States.
Yeah. Mark Faust? Faust. I apologize.
Well, I retired in 96 and went on about my life and didn't much think about it until a decade or a little more ago. And I saw the changes that were happening, and it became more and more important to me. It was 7, 8 months later, after January 6th and that insurrection, we went to DC for a vacation. But my primary purpose to go to DC, and I did it, was I walked around the Capitol and I shook the hands of every cop up there and thanked them for living up to their oath. And those sorts of things just drive it in. It's why I'm with VAV. It's why I'm with local efforts to reform the political system, and it's why I'm out on every damn protest.
Yeah. Thank you, Mark. Joshua?
Sorry about that. For me, I just always felt like the state of American democracy was an important mark on the world, and I thought that service would, make a difference in the world. And that's partly why I'm involved in this movement. But our time in Iraq was confusing because it's sort of different. There's just different things going on politically. But I always felt like we could be a force for good no matter what we were doing. And before we left the wire, I would always think to myself, how can we make an impact, positive impact on the people in this country right now? And dear God, hopefully we don't have to kill some of them. And, it was largely positive. So I've always valued my service and the lessons I've learned and the people I worked with.
Yeah. Thanks, Joshua. One of the next questions here, and I'm going to tie two of them together, so take your pick since we've got about a minute left. Is there a particular phrase in the oath that hits differently now? Or what do you want a young American to understand about the Constitution? We'll just popcorn this out. Anybody can chime in, please.
I'll just tell you that to what I said this morning to some of the kids, they were freshmen mostly. The Democrat and Republican parties are not in the Constitution. They are private organizations. I'm all for conferring with folks and everything, but they're not in there. There you go.
Mark Faust.
Yeah, just that, some of us are getting older and older. It's to them. If they want this country, they're going to have to step up and they're going to have to pay attention. And going back to the other part of that, the most important words, I think, is enemies, foreign and domestic, out of that whole thing.
Yeah. Kevin.
I'd echo what both Marks just said. It's on you, right? And service. The Constitution doesn't explicitly say that, but I think it's implied. Service is up to all of us. Anyone can serve in a variety of capacities. Over.
Okay, guys. I think we're supposed to leave the breakout room. We should have a pop up, and I think we're all going to go back. Go ahead and click that button.
One of our folks, Jim, I think I got his name right, he had administered the oath as part of when he was an officer in the Army. So I thought that was really cool, just hearing from people like me who just went in, said it once in the beginning as a young person, to him, bringing in large numbers of younger officers. So that was cool to me. And one of the words that did come up from a couple of us was duty. But and the concept, though, of that oath to the idea, as General Milley had said, kind of what struck me with that that came up in our talks also. Yeah, it was good talk. I like that exercise. Thanks.
Thanks, Jeff. And David, do you want to go next?
Yeah, sure. So my group had Mark R, Mark P, Kevin, LJ, Joshua, and Carrie, and it was a really great group. And the takeaways that I wrote down, there was kind of a consensus that the first thought was, excuse my French, holy shit, what did I get into? But that quickly transitioned to, I'm doing something bigger than me. And that was a beautiful sentiment to hear. And then there were a couple of times where folks reiterated that they are still serving. And I think it was Carrie who said it very eloquently, that it was still serving their community and making sure that everyone's voice is heard. And everyone's comments really resonated, and I got chills a couple of times. I'm not gonna hide that. So thank you for your sentiment.
You all. Over to you, Reagan.
Yeah, so we had a lot of similar experiences, I think. When we took the oath for the first time, we didn't appreciate it then as much as we do now. At the time, it was more of just, a box to check on the way to the next thing, to get you through the process of like enlisting or graduating. But now it reinforces, the ideas and the values of service above self and putting country over party, because we didn't swear an oath to a person or a figure. We swore an oath to the Constitution and the country. And that it's just like the oath is sobering. And Nikia was in my group, and she put in the chat that it drives a lot of how she operates in the world today, including, still volunteering in the veteran community. So yeah, it still has a big effect on all of us.
Amazing.
I guess
I can go. Oh.
Oh
Go
no.
ahead. Go ahead,
I was
Han.
in the group 3. We have 5 individuals in our group, and I think we got to the question. I think we skirted, but there's so much good discussion about so many other things. But as we were talking, Grady started us off from Kentucky, and really began this note about service, and it became like, how do we serve
after the uniform. And kind of Grady shared how he helps his community. And speaking with Holly, and she shared about the power that we have as veterans and the opportunities and the rooms that we are invited into because of our veteran status, and how she wants to be able to share that same power with others and share how other veterans can do the same. And so we see that. And then with Henry from Connecticut being able to speak about his 504, his 504, 501c4, I'm sorry, and to share the book he's writing on, some of the work that he's doing, and speaking about integrity and also his opportunity to administer the oath and what that felt like. So it was really good about service, integrity, and duty. And then there's also a connection between Holly and Henry. They had the opportunity with the Citizen Assembly, so that was really cool. And then, having this opportunity of those themes, just weaving in and out between service, integrity, and duty, just a really great opportunity to reflect and share. And we did have this opportunity to share on the oath, but it was just that beautiful tapestry that was created there. So really appreciate the opportunity to share in that moment.
Now, I don't know what our group number was, but it was a great group. We had Brewer Leggett and Chris Himsel from South Carolina. We had Brian Schroeder from Alaska, Daniel Collins from Kentucky, and then Dennis Philippavage from Maryland, and Dustin Cathcart from Massachusetts. And lots of great reflections. I think it was Chris Himsel that had said, when we swear an oath to a constitution, we're essentially swearing an oath to the people of the United States. It's the first three words, right, of our Constitution, and the people pledge allegiance to the flag and to the idea of liberty and justice for all. So that was a connection that Chris made really eloquently. Lots of other great thoughts about the words from the oath that stuck out: support and defend, and domestic, and bear true faith and allegiance. So that's just a quick synopsis of our group.
I think we have two more groups. Claudia, I don't know if there was someone selected from your group, and then our mini group, Shannon and Robert. I don't know if one of you wants to also share out, but
Martha, do you want to take it, or do you want me to?
You could take it.
Okay. So we had 5 in our group, and it turns out we were all Navy, 4 veterans and 1 whose grandfather served. And I didn't get everybody's names, but we had 2 people from Washington State. But what I took from it is that taking the oath meant a lot. Retaking it was almost more significant. And I think Jeff talked about it, that, when you're so young and you just do it and you're trying to get into the military, it doesn't mean as much. But when you think about it after you have served and today, it's very impactful. And we do continue to serve. And a number of folks who were in our group were still serving. The thing that stood out to me when I retook it is that to defend against all enemies, foreign and domestic. I never really thought about the domestic, but that's all I'm thinking about these days, is how we're being torn apart from the inside. Our government right now is doing what no foreign enemy has been able to do in the first 249 years. So it's a whole different thing, and it's really a call to action to all of us who have served to continue to preserve this country and our values and our Constitution, and get away from all this political bullshit, frankly. But it was a great group. It was a nice conversation, and I'm really glad to have been in with it. Thanks.
Shannon or Robert, if you want to close us out, and then have a couple of comments and leave it to Eric to end the meeting.
I'll do it. I saw that your finger on your nose down there, Bobby. I think I'm a little guilty. We had a couple of people that popped in and popped out, and so while we were waiting for the number of group members to settle in, we kind of started on a side conversation and admittedly never got back to the meat of the conversation that we were supposed to have. But we did have a really good dialogue about a couple of things, and one is the real desire for both of us to try to bring more veterans into the conversation. I can't really speak to why a lot of veterans that I know are sort of apathetic and detached from it, but we both very much felt, I hope this is accurate, Bobby, a sense that we want to invite more veterans into this conversation. And we talked too about this frustration that we have with wrestling with the idea that sometimes it feels like the only way to fix the system is to be inside the system. And then if you're inside the system, you're expected to play by all of these rules that are they lack integrity and they're dishonest and all of these things, and how that's a real struggle for us. And so we both got a good handle on kind of what each state is up against. And even though I apologize, we didn't talk about the oath as we were supposed to. We did have a really, really good conversation, and I think learned a lot from each other. So glad to have been part of it.
Shannon, that's almost better. So I'm glad that you guys connected and had a good conversation. So I'm going to say a couple of things. The first, talked about this at the very top of the meeting. We have this ongoing effort throughout the 250th anniversary, this July 4th, to collect as many of these stories as we can. So if you feel so compelled, some of you already have, some of you have already posted some of your videos. But if you're willing to, create a 45-second, 60-second video of yourself just reflecting on this oath of office, something that we're working with America 250, the actual organization, to collect these veteran stories. And I think it's been really meaningful and powerful to see what people feel about it. And to just, we've had several people cry as they've read those words and thought about what it meant to them. And I've had that same emotional response. So would welcome anyone who's interested, check out that link. And then since the 39 of you stuck around for this exercise, a little preview of a cool thing we'll be doing this summer. We have a volunteer named Robert Hess in California who's going to be driving across the country and hitting most of the continental states. And as he goes throughout the country, he's going to be administering this oath to veterans, having them retake their oath of office and capturing that on video. So in a few cities, we haven't quite figured out the cities, but a few cities along his route will be hosting big VAV events, trying to bring in veterans, to local VFW posts or whatever, and meeting Robert as he goes across the country. He'll be driving from California to DC as part of his nonprofit called Rally for Vets. We'll have a big VAV logo on his rally car, and it'll be a cool thing. So with that, thank you guys. Thanks for being here for this experiment. Hopefully it was meaningful to you to connect with other VAV members across the country. And I'll turn it over to Eric for any last words.
Yeah, just thank you all so much for building this mission with us. Some things I think we all agree on, right? There's no political saviors that are going to save this country. Both of our major political parties are fundamentally flawed, and they're masters of gaslighting and blame shifting. So in New York and DC, it's the Democrats opposing reforms, and in Oklahoma and Tennessee, it's the Republicans. And so it's really what we're building is something that has to be both from the outside and from within, independents, party members who are willing to challenge their own parties. It's all of the above. There's no single silver bullet solution. But every time I'm with anyone from Veterans for All Voters, I leave more hopeful and more inspired. So I hope the same is true for you today. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being on mission with us.